Hi everybody, Kevin here. We're back with another Meta Weekly Roundup. In this video, or even podcast, I think I'll make this more of a podcast so you can listen to another guy ramble about Gundam, because I love talking about Gundam. You know me, I can really talk about Gundam all the time, all the days of the week. But it's gonna be Friday by the time I post this video, so that means another Meta Roundup. You can see some things are changes. Of course, shout out to Eggman. I always appreciate him being able to provide for the community these data, and also like running tournaments. I'm sure a lot of logistic problems and things of that nature, so always shout out to him for putting out free information, so that's always great for people like me to talk about, and then hopefully you can learn a little bit from my perspective and his perspective as well. So for this tournament, this is his recent, I think, triple win box number 2. So you can see here in the breakdowns, for those of you who are just listening to audio only, the color breakdown majority is 19 who are playing green white. You can see is Wing Zero. Next most popular is blue green. I would assume Earth Federation Aggro, and then New Type Ping, right, blue red, and then the rest of it. You can see here, for those of y'all, let me take a sip of water. Sip. ASMR time. Shout out ASMR people being able to make kind of low-key creepy content with their noises and things of the nature. But anyways, Freedom Blocker has unfortunately fell down a cliff, right? I think initially on the first couple weeks, everybody was kind of on that freedom train, America, right? Shout out George Michael. But now, since the advent of aggro, obviously if you don't play enough blockers, or if you're not making good decisions, being able to trade resources effectively, then you're kind of screwed, right? Every popular deck that's getting top A, like right now, top A who won for this particular tournament, it's like blue green Xeon aggro, and then Cyber New Type Ping, right? And then you have your Wing Zero. Like every kind of deck has some form of aggro, so if you're not able to make trades and play the deck efficiently, then you're screwed. Also, another thing I think that just screws you completely over, of course, is just Wing Zero being dropped and then wipes your entire board. Because a lot of that stuff, aside from maybe you're playing Unicorn or Freedom Gundam, everything gets like hit by that 3 HP, and that adds up, especially if you're blocking and then you're trying to survive by like 1-2 HP low level blockers, right? At least from my experience. So for this part of the video, we'll break down a little bit some interesting deck lists and things that I've noticed. So for first place, we have good old Jerome Belones, if I'm saying that correctly. Shout out to them. This is their deck list. I think fairly kind of unique, right? I would say it's unique. Like nothing is lower, nothing's higher than level 3, so you're always gonna have something activated, like basically past turn 2 for your turn if you're going second, which is, I guess, I would believe is the most preferred form, right? They're playing 4 copies of dupe. I personally don't like dupe. I think dupe only gets value out of it if you're going to put the card to the bottom, because if you put the thing on the board and then you look at the top card and you see the card and you're gonna still put it to the top, like you don't move it, then I mean you're gonna draw it anyways, right? I don't know. I would rather prefer like playing another unit. Like I'm surprised they're not even playing like RXs at least, or even like Goose. Like you play Goose, that's a really good card too, because that means you can recycle your Char, high maneuver, but at the same time, maybe it doesn't really matter for this kind of style of deck, because you're just trying to get like aggro and put bodies on board, and then you're gonna attack them anyways next turn. So I feel that. It's just again, that's just my opinion of dupe dop. I just don't vibe with it. I personally don't like it. I would rather just play another body that can put like pressure on your opponent. Yeah, I know shields are like 1 HP anyways, but still, I mean, I get the idea, right? I get the idea. Of course, I get the idea. It's trying to be like looking through your deck and be able to like draw good cards, but I don't really like it. They're also playing Zaku Uno. We all know Zaku Uno being 2 health kind of matters, right? 1 attack, maybe that's enough, right? You put a dupe, you put a Zaku Uno, that's 2. Something for your opponent to deal with. Other than that, I think it's fairly standard. One thing I've noticed too is that Corsica base has slowly getting more prominent, like especially around my locals too. And that if you're playing some kind of blue deck, then you probably maybe play this and white base as like your main 2 bases, because you're able to make a Talgis token. And even if you don't make a Talgis token, because you have another Corsica base in the graveyard, you're able to make 2 Leo tokens. And then, the whole point of this deck, just kind of overwhelm your opponent. They don't have enough blockers, doesn't matter, you just bop them anyways. And then finally, Another card that I think I will start playing, especially in my decks, is a Siege Ploy, because being able to rest stuff is so good. And I know the theory is that playing Siege Ploy is like playing another copy of Amuro, essentially, right? Remember, Amuro is able to rest anything with 5 HP or less, and this is basically the same thing, but in a like quick effect form. So your opponent thinks they're gonna make a push, nah, rest, and then next turn you're able to like take care of the unit. So I think it's a really strong card. If you can play it, play it. But that's something I've noticed too. Yeah, I think that's the ones that stand out to me. I think the rest of this is kind of fairly standard, right? I think we all know what they do. Let's take a look at this one. Yeah, so it's like Cyber New Type, Earth Federation Aggro. There we go. We got Shang, good old Shenlong, right? Shenlong be able to breach, rest with Amuro. You got your wombo combo right there, gang, and then you ping off the things that are still alive, or at least put them down lower to health, so you get the Shenlong to kill it, and then you kill the shield. Fairly standard, right? I think this would probably gain a lot more popularity because it seems so much value out of it, especially because remember Shenlong, it's 4/4. You put it with Shang, so you're not going to get battle damage or anything with 3 or less AP. That's like a lot of blockers for the most part. Like your Friths, your Zords, those things, those annoying things, you're going to do no damage to your Shenlong, and since your Shenlong is able to survive longer, that's like more value, right? Because health. So there you go. That's my thoughts on that. So those two decks, and then another tournament is the Yugioh Nest Weekly, which happened like basically yesterday. 52 players, which is not as much as the other one, which I think was capped at 64. You can see that the representation is like unicorn blockers, Wing Zero, Cyber New Type Pink, and then the rest of it, right? You're not gonna really see, I think, red green top anytime soon, unfortunately. As much as I would love to see that, I don't think it's happening consistently, like in a big kind of group event or something like that nature. So we'll look at the first one. Shout out to Lucas Vass for winning. This is their unicorn blockers deck list. Some things that pop up to me is Demi Garrison. I don't think too many people usually play that, because I think you just play, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter, right? Maybe you just want to be a little cool, but I think you can play GM because isn't that 2/1 as well, and then main 2/2. So I think it's just a matter of preference, right? Anything else that stands out to me as well is that they are playing one copy of Freedom, because Freedom, I guess, doesn't necessarily do too well against your worst matchup, which is Wing Zero. So if you're scared of just everybody playing Wing Zero, which is right now, remember on the color breakdown, for those of you who are not watching, is the most represented one out of all the decks at the moment, because it's so popular, so cool. One Gundam Wings, shout out 30th anniversary, right? So Freedom Gundam is too late at that point, I think, for you to drop, and so you want to make your strategy revolve around Unicorn Gundam, and then also like destroy mode, right? So you're able to rest units and then bop units as well. Another thing that I think stands out is this one with good old Mula Flaga, choosing to bounce back, something like that. But I think they're just playing this as like tech cards overall on the deck, and then kind of surrounding themselves with just like not too many high level like Freedom blockers. Freedom blockers, usually you'll play like 2 to 3 copies of Freedom, right? And then maybe you'll play like a small unicorn package to try to alleviate things with Wing Zero. But your Wing Zero matchup, I think, is just so bad because like half your deck is like level 5 or lower, and your only things that are higher than that is just the Freedom and the Strom Unicorn, so you're screwed. But then to be fair, I think a lot of decks would be screwed anyways, but a lot of other decks have some kind of aggro component, so you're not going to be able to put pressure on your opponent to maybe like finish them off enough in time, or they have to use the Wing Zero like desperately, right? At least that's from my experience playing. So, you know, Demi Garrison, I get it. Totally get it. That's what I would do too. I play GMs instead. But it's the same general idea, right? And this is another deck list that top playing fairly standard, like white and green, right? Make your EX base or EX resource to wing, you know, bird mode, and then you drop your Wing Zero, clear the board like a dark hole, and if you play Yugioh, use a giant bomb and then bop everything, and then try to clean stuff up with Depth Sight, because being able to have first strike with such a high power unit is just so good, because then you don't take damage, and also it lasts like another turn. So there's some deck lists that end up topping in those tournaments. Shout out to them. And one more thing, I think maybe at the moment people are still trying to figure out, and probably because it's not as popular, is Academy, which I think is probably a very viable control strategy if you play like every real build, who's able to recycle your command cards. And then broken command cards like Overflow Reflection, right, Unforeseen Incident, and then good old Siege Ploy, like I always say, and even Striker Pack, which is another nice tech card that I came across against opponents and locals, where they're able to get the 4/2 or like a 2/4 blocker for free, basically. And then if it gets bursted and you don't have a token, then you get a free token anyways. I think those cards are extremely underrated. This particular deck list, for those of you who are watching, they are not playing every real build. They're not playing Farak, and if somebody can explain to me why they're not playing those units in this aerial, or not even aerial, this academy kind of build, then I would love to hear why. I think they're playing low level units just in general because then they're easy to summon, and then you try to control board state through, I guess, your command cards, right? Because you got broken command cards like Unforeseen Incident -3. You got Choo Choo, who's able to do -2, and then you're able to draw cards with Overflowing Affection. So I think that's the idea of the deck. Play low level units, rely on your command cards. You try to like lower your opponent's APs to down to your level, and then take advantage of that. But then you can't recycle it with every rebuild. So that's the only part where I don't get. I don't know. Let me know down below. I'm always open to learn new things. I'm not saying I'm like an expert in any kind of thing. I don't think anyone's an expert at this point. The game just literally came out like a month ago, so I don't think anybody's trying to figure that stuff out. Yeah. So now's the moment where I'll talk about a little bit of tech cards that I think would be kind of underrated, useful, if you will. First one, if you're playing green, Makuve, right? Makuve is another breach card, so if you play that with Shang, I think that's great synergy, because you play Zaku's and some kind of rush strategy, you're able to do breach to the shields. So you have Makuve pair up with your Zaku's or whatever has the traits, or not. It doesn't even need traits. It just says well, this unit is Xeon, so there you go. Put it next to the Xeon card, it gets breach. Sometimes it's enough to buff the shield, so that's great. Same thing with Siege Ploy. I'll play those because there's another copies of Amuro, but a quick play form. And then a Peaceful Timbre. Shout out music. With a Corde. Quatre? Quatre. Yeah, it's Quatre. Quatre. It's been very long since I've seen Gundam Wing. All I remember, of course, good old, Toggies and Zex, and then Hito being like super edgy boy. It's been 30 years. I'm sorry. Sorry if I don't remember everything, but there is an action card. So during this battle, your shield area cards can't receive damage from enemy units at level 4 or lower. So if you're playing against an aggro strategy, if you have this card, then it essentially acts like a Karibo, right? If you play Yu-Gi-Oh, Karibo is a hand trap, something you can activate from your hand without playing it like set up on the field. So being able to save a shield from that point, I think is great. And also, again, it's a pilot card, right? Operation Meteor. I might come up to some Gundam Wing related cards, so I think that's another underrated pilot / command card. Especially since I think it's the only one where it like protects your shield at the moment, right? Kind of like how I say Char's Gelgoog is like quote unquote underrated, even though it's like a $30 card at this point. People figured it out, but it's able to recycle your Char, because then you're able to pair Char effectively and then reuse it from the graveyard. So you're almost playing like multiple pilots of Char in a sense, right? Alright, let's shift to that. And then finally Striker Pack. I think I sung enough praise about Striker Pack, so there we go. We'll move on to this, move on to other deck lists from other neighboring countries, because remember, other places, unlike here in like North America and non-Japan or non-Asian countries, I'll be more specific, they're still playing Freedom, and I think now we're playing a lot more aggro. I think their meta has shifted towards playing controls to try to slow down aggro, and those are the lists I believe right now are like getting super popular and topping. So here's your standard Unicorn Gundam list, right? I'm gonna play more Unicorns, not only because it's a cool card, but because I think Freedom Gundam at the moment has lowered its usefulness, because it's level 7. Remember that green white Wing Zero is able to like cheat out a Wing Zero anyways, so your real thing that can try to bop it is just through like destroy mode, hopefully before then, because then you essentially just cheat through summoning the destroy mode by destroying the unicorn realm. Right, you don't need to wait till like level 7. So I think that's more effective overall. Is it crazy to play 4 of these? I would not be surprised if one list somehow figures out that you play 4 of these, and then you try to figure out a way to stall until like level 5, and then you'll be able to summon a unicorn. At that point would be like extremely strong, right? Because you can rest blockers and all that stuff if you can, right? Yeah. And here's what I'm talking about: being able to combine Shang with Amuro, because you'll be able to rest units and do breach damage. I think this will start finding a little more popularity around my neck of the woods, especially. Oh, they're playing Jagan. That's cool. Hey, shout out. I managed to pull a Jagan from my promo pack, right? So that's pretty cool too if I can actually play it. It gets -1 memory resource, -1 cost, so you gotta have to play multiple of them. I think that's pretty cool too. And then yeah, pretty much Aggro is the name of the game right now. Aggro is the most popular form of style around my neck of the woods and here in non-Asian North America places, right? I'm sure Europe, if you guys are able to get cards, are maybe having the same kind of meta here in North America as well. But right now it's all about aggro. If you can't make efficient trades with playing freedom blockers or freedom unicorn, then you're kind of screwed. And then also, maybe it's just me, right? Hot take, but I played all like multiple. What I try to do during locals when I play is like try to take a different deck every week until I find something that overall I think it's my favorite thing to play, right? And like for first week I took Xeon red green, like Sinanju Neo Xeon, right? And I went 2-1. I think that was pretty good for what it was, but at the same time I think initially a lot of people were still trying to figure out how to play the game. So I think you were able to overwhelm people pretty easily by playing like aggro. Next week that I played red green, or cyber new type red blue, could not do well with it at all, because I think at that point people started to catch on it, and then it was just like mirror matches all around, and I just could not do well against like a straight up aggro deck, like a blue green kind of deck where they just summon a bunch of low level cost Zaku's like this, and then it just overwhelmed me. Right, like this list is not playing Kshatriya. Kshatriya I think is starting to lower on his value because maybe it takes a little too long for it to summon, and at that point if you're playing against aggro, like that one list, right, where you're playing super high, like level 4 or lower, like that one list was playing level 3 or lower, you're gonna get overwhelmed and it doesn't really matter anyways if you try to ping stuff. So I played that, did not do well with it at all. Maybe it was just unlucky day. And then recently I just played freedom blockers because I finally got the cards, and I think overall that's probably my most suitable playstyle, being able to control the board, making efficient trades, right? Because that's the name of the game. We play freedom blockers. I think it's also a little bit of learning curve, quote unquote, where you can't just willy-nilly decide to block things here and there, like make trades. Sometimes it's okay for your opponent to hit your shield for you to maintain board presence. I don't know, right? Because you want to make effective trades too, like your strikes, right? Good old Kita being able to -2, so then you're essentially doing -2 their opponents. For example, it's like, I don't know, you're fighting a Lefrith, right? You're trying to bop a Lefrith. They're gonna do no damage to you. You survive another turn. You're still blocking all that stuff. It's great. So it's a lot of mind games. I think all the other decks, when I played them, games ended really quick. But almost every single match that I played with freedom blockers, it was almost near like the end. It was a good like 20-25 minutes of gameplay. So you're trying to figure out like efficient trades, and I think maybe that's too big brain for some people, but yeah, that's my opinion. All the other decks you kind of just can spam a little bit, but this one you kind of have to make smart decisions being able to trade effectively, right? So there you go. Yeah, that's probably my favorite deck at the moment, to be honest. Like freedom, I know it's kind of like normie and boring to say, but really I think it's fun to figure out how to do trades effectively for your opponent. It's like a little puzzle game, right? You mess up once, you lose. Right? Your opponent overwhelms you, or like they drop Big Zam on you. Like Big Zammed, oh, that was tough. But at that point, I had grinded my opponent down to almost very little cards, because they were playing like a aggro Zaku strategy, and they weren't able to finish me off by turn 5. So at that point, you'll be able to hopefully try to grind him out, close out game as soon as you can. So that's one more thing. Yeah, but these are all well, I think Eggman's tournaments are all in person. I mean, not in person, but like virtually. I don't know about y'all, but I just can't. I don't like playing virtually. Even for Yu-Gi-Oh, like during COVID times, people were trying to play camera. I just can't. I can't do it. People have bad cameras. I gotta ask like, what card is that? What does that say? I gotta look it up, and people think I'm cheating. It's just too much. I rather prefer playing in person because there's one aspect of online that you don't get, which is like the human eye contact. I love this. Ready for this? I love human eye contact. You know that patch meme where you just go like, huh? But I think I absolutely do a lot better in person than playing virtually because I don't know, maybe I just have some kind of psychological aura to like my opponent to make them play bad, right? I don't know. Do I look intimidating? I look like a fat, look at my fat head, giant double, triple chin that maybe just intimidates people like Jabba the Hutt or something like that, right? Asian Jabba the Hutt. No, I'm just kidding. My celebrity doppelganger is William Hung. If y'all know who it is, shout out William Hung. But when I play in person, maybe I just play like intimidating to people where I don't really give tells to things at all, and I try to be very talkative and friendly and cordial, like, hey, how's it going, blah blah, what'd you play last round, how you doing, all that stuff. I like to make small talk with people, and then I always try to be clear with my phases, right? Maybe it's like a Yu-Gi-Oh habit, but I always do like draw phase, unrest, resource, main phase, whatever you want to call it, right? And then I also don't do the annoying, this is my biggest TCG pet peeves, maybe for y'all too, but I don't do any obnoxious like card shuffles. Don't worry, it's just common. So like, I don't do any of that. It just grinds my gears, right? I understand people have like their nervous tics when they're playing in person, but I don't do any of that. I just do this, right? Or even I just put my cards down and just kind of sit there and go like, your move, right? And I just sit there and wait. Right, I just sit there and wait, and then just let them. If they're gonna mess up, they're gonna mess up with their own. You don't gotta contribute to it or like do anything like that of that nature. Because I don't want to be like that guy, right? Who like rule sharks people, and also like I don't want to get rule shark either. That's why I'm very clear with my actions, right? Like I'll always do the resources first, and then once card hits table, that counts, right? So cards table, summon whatever, everything. Like I pay 2 cost, summon this. I say everything verbally, so people don't roll shark me. And personally, I don't like it when people are just quiet and just like do their thing, because then sometimes people can screw you, right? Especially if you're not keeping track of everything they do, they can try to cheat you out of win, right? I know it sounds kind of dumb, but some people will take this game a little way more seriously, and they'll do anything to win, right? They'll try to cheat you out. Like for example, during Yu-Gi-Oh, now it's story time with Kevin. But during Yu-Gi-Oh, a regional I was at, it was like round 5, I think. I was at that point like X2, so you try to win, but I was playing during a format where a certain deck can essentially rip 2 cards out of your hand, your 5 cards. So rip 2 cards out of your 5 card hand, so you only start with 3, and at that point, like you're kind of screwed, right? So one of them that rips your hand is like a combo. So the first one is I believe like random, and the second one is like the opponent can choose, right? So since I already know the combo, when my opponent first did it, he actually did it the reverse. So the one you're supposed to choose, but instead I randomly picked like a card or whatever, and then shuffled, and then my opponent called like a judge on me. I was like, oh, he was like, so that was supposed to be random. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just take it out or whatever. But he was like, no, I'm gonna call out a judge so you can get like a free win, right? So he called out the judge, and then the judge asked me like, do you remember what card that was? I'm like, yeah, I remember it was this card. And he's like, okay, don't do that again. And that was it. Like, I don't. You were gonna like, he was gonna rip another card out of me anyways, and I was gonna have to shuffle. So like, what was the point of that, right? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, whatever. It's just people, Yu-Gi-Oh people especially, try to like do whatever it takes to win. So I know Gundam, maybe the community so far, when I've experienced, everyone's been super friendly. Nobody's been like the hardcore, like I'm here to win, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like nobody's done that yet. Everyone's been very cordial, very friendly, very mature. But when it came to like comparing it to Yu-Gi-Oh, from my experience to like locals and stuff, people are very like in their own little cliques and like have no sense of like friendliness or cordialness. In my opinion, Yu-Gi-Oh like are most competitive, most like unfriendly people that I come across during locals, right? And even regionals and stuff of that nature. So anyways, that's a ramble. I just more about me. I like to make everything super clear, right? Maybe it'll help y'all. Draw phase, unrest, resource, right? Everything like that. Even the beginning, I say draw 5, draw for turn, right? Draw 5, mulligan, shuffle deck, 6 shields. I say everything out loud so there's no confusion between us, right? So if you're one of those quiet people, I get it. Maybe you're shy. You don't like talking to people too much. You want to just do your own thing because you don't like eye contact scares you, right? Eye contact scares you. Intimidating, right? Super intimidating for William Hung to look at you. But for those of you who are just listening to the audio version, I switched to a up close image of my face, my fat face, my fat head. But anyways, maybe that's a habit you can also do. And then one thing I like to talk about too, like, oh, some cards have just been dropping in price. This is not financial advice. First of all, disclaimer, not financial advice, totally not financial advice. But if you look at the market, remember market, for those, I know, I also see like a lot of posts on Reddit where people, this is like their first ever card game they play, which is crazy to me, but you know, hoopla, it's great. Welcome to the cardboard addiction. But for people who don't know, is that meta defines the market, right? If a card or a deck is not popular anymore, you're gonna probably expect the prices to lower significantly, right? If there's no demand, the price will be low. If there is a high demand and low supply, prices will be high, right? Case in point, there'll be stuff like alt arts that are popular and meta relevant, such as like Wing Zeros and Merida. Merida, I saw at one point was like, oh man, it was like a $60 card. I was like, I'll wait till like 50, right? And now you see like 70 something dollar card. At one point, I think earlier this week, it was like bought out, and the lowest I saw was like a $90. I'm like, that's crazy. No way it's gonna stay at 90, right? No shot. It's gonna stay at 90, but it managed to stay like relatively high like its entire life cycle. So, you know, if you want like an alt art card, I think it's probably a good time to get it, because alt arts for the most part will probably retain like the value over time, at least from experience with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? Like those original printings maybe will retain more value over time than the other ones, unless there's a higher printing rarity of it. But it's Yu-Gi-Oh. Yu-Gi-Oh card prices are just like straight garbage unless like they're old cards. But yeah, you can expect like common normal printings of it to probably go lower. Like for example, like Char's Gelgu. Look at Char's Gelgu. Now it's down to like 24, let's say $24, right? At one point it was like $15. You can see now it's extremely popular. It's basically in my opinion, the best card of like Xeon, because you're able to recycle the Char. So it's meta relevant, it's relatively high rarity, and then is it popular? Not really. If it does spike in popularity, you could probably expect this to spike up. Like right now you can see like at one point it's almost a $30 card, because people realize you need 4 of it, and then your Xeon deck revolves around it. So do I think it's gonna dip? Probably, maybe, because right now, like we know from topping, right? Red, green, Xeon, nobody likes playing it, so it's gonna maybe be lower on value overall. But then stuff that's relevant, such as good old Gundam Death Scythe, right? Because at one point, $42 card, now $32, because it's, in my opinion, a lot better overall than like a Wing Zero, because it just does the drop, right? But this one's a lot easier to summon. It has first strike, and then being able to be a strong unit overall, and like a key 4-off in like a very popular deck is gonna have a high price. So for those of y'all who don't play card games before, this is unfortunately how it works, right? I wish everything was affordable, but that's not how it is right now, because the market is what decides the prices, right? Vendors and stuff of that nature. Where I know people say there are reprints coming, but in my opinion, not financial advice, in my opinion, I don't think it's gonna budget too much unless there's like a lot of supply, right? Or the only way these prices will go lower is if there's another higher rarity or something of that nature that will make the common poor people version different price. So that's when you swoop in, right? Same thing with Kshatriya. Kshatriya, I believe at one point was like a $35 card. I bought in at $15 when it first came out, because not because I thought it was a great card. Well, I did think it was a great card because of being able to do 1 damage to 2 enemies. I think that's great because of ping damage. I knew that from the very beginning. is reading the card, but also because Marita's best UC girl, right? Don't at me. Marita's best UC girl. That's why her alt is like $90. But you can see that Kachacha's kind of been on the down low. Why? Because right now everybody wants to play Wing Zero. Wing Zero is quote unquote like the best deck at the moment, but then it's like a circular nature, right? Where thing gets popular, it gets expensive, people buy it out. Thing doesn't get popular, people sell it low, all that stuff. So right now everything's started to get a little bit lower because I think the people who really want to play Gundam have already paid like those high crazy prices, and then now people who maybe are like interested in the game are the ones who are buying cards, right? Because I think at this point, maybe a couple weeks into the game, third week, fourth week, a month in, people who want to play like their deck have probably already gotten the cards they wanted, right? At this point, people are maybe like buying like their second deck, third deck, all that stuff. Yeah, like here, Wing Zero, starting to drop. It's like a $24 card now, right? At one point it was like $40. Now it's starting to drop a little bit because, like I said, people are starting to counter this deck. What are you gonna play? Like some kind of like aggro Xeon deck, which is like cheap, easy, and if you can't summon Wing Zero anyways, it's just gonna be sitting there as expensive $20, $25 paper, right? Just sitting there. This, in my opinion, will probably retain its value right now. I don't expect it to get any lower unless, again, like this deck just complete cheeks and something comes out next set that just said this is complete garbage, don't play it. But I don't think it's ever going to be that bad, right? The only bad part I can think about this is maybe like the level 8 cost. That's kind of bad, but the deck kind of revolves around cheating it out fast, right? So I don't think it'll be that lower. Another thing I've noticed is Freedom Gundam. Look, Freedom Gundam went down to $22 at one point. The same thing with Wing Zero. It was like a $40 card. Remember, everybody in the mom said Freedom is the best deck. Now, it's getting countered, right? It's kind of hard to play. You don't need to play 4 of them. You probably play 2 to 3. That's why the value is a lot lower than what it was like, you know, a week ago. Isn't that crazy? Do that like graph right here. But in my opinion, if I wanted to get Freedom Gundams right now, not financial advice, it's probably a good time because it's on the low. No one wants it. You got a Great Wall of China right here, 12 copies at $22. Well, really $22 for the first one and $20 for the rest of it, so like $42. I mean, I don't think it's gonna get any lower. Maybe you could find your copies at $18, $17. That'll be even better, make it good deals. But yeah, Freedom Gundam, I think right now it's opportunity for y'all, and this is always the case, right? If you want to play a certain deck that's not popular right now, like for example, another unpopular deck I would say is Zaft. Zaft is not super duper, I think, popular through locals even, and all that stuff. So you can probably make a Zaft deck extremely budget friendly, right? And another example is look at red blue pink. There was a buyout right here. You can see $12, right? Boom. Now it's down to like $8. Half the value just gone, right? You can see here minus 77%, right? Because people were hyped up for it. People play it. People realize, oh no, I'm getting countered by Freedom Blocker. Oh no, I'm getting countered by Aggro. You only play 2 of these, right? Value is tanked. Because I think sometimes people just buy out stuff regardless just to try to make a quick buck, which, you know, I'm not trying to say this, again, I'm not saying this financial advice, but I'm trying to do the opposite of what I think Yu-Gi-Oh has done for my community, the Yu-Gi-Oh community, where people just buy out cards and then you have, you know, YouTubers, I'm not calling them out, but you know who they are, where their friends are vendors, right? So it's in their best interest to try to hype up cards for people to sell or people to buy, and then they sell and they make money, and that's how it works, right? If there's some people try to manipulate the market through that ways, and it's just so frustrating because obviously, like, I want to get these cards cheap, right? I got bills to pay. I got other things to do with money, like food. Food's important. If I had to pick between cardboard or food, I'll probably pick food like 90% of the time. But the Marita card is really cool. I'm just joking, everybody. But you know, that's how it works. So if y'all are playing Gundam Card Game, that's your first card game. This is how, unfortunately, it works for cardboard, right? You're paying $18 for a shiny piece of cardboard. Well, $20, $18 the Japanese version. But you're paying $20 for a piece of cardboard. That obviously does not feel good. These are not appreciable assets, right? It's not like stocks, it's not land, something that'll grow over time, gold even. If you want to do investing, you invest in those kind of things, right? Try not to do that for cardboard because it's so malleable. Like you saw, Freedom Gundam, I think to me is the biggest example. $1.40 card, now no one cares. Half value, half overnight. You rarely see anything ever try to like explode overnight. People try buying this card out, remember? Like I just said, people try buying this out, making like $100, $90 card. Anybody actually buy it? Eh. One Billy B right here, tried buying it 125. Most people will probably not pay this price, right? So market sells it. Same thing with this. Remember Aerial Rebuild? The most rare card, whatever. At one point, oh, it's a $2,000 card. No, it's not. The value is whatever people are willing to pay. Some guy or gal, probably a guy, let's be real, paid $525.50 for the lowest one, right? It's just gonna sit here. Who has money to spend on this, really? I don't know, right? Market watch. Like I wish the game was more affordable, because that means more people can play it. That means I can afford to play it without feeling bad, right? Without feeling bad that oh my god, I dropped $8 on a piece of cardboard. That's crazy. That's real tangible money. Same thing with Merida. I remember Merida's at one point were like almost $10. Now down to 5. Red blue, not super popular. People don't care too much. You can see that moving. Everything's on the down, right? Just like the economy, everything's on the down except alt arts. Alt arts are the only ones I can think that will continue to appreciate their value. Like Char's Gelgoog, I managed to trade it for a Wing Zero because I'm like, oh cool, I saw someone who had it, and like he's not playing Xeon. I love Xeon, so now it's like a $40 card. Will it retain value? Probably, to be honest, because the alt art is we don't know how Bandai is gonna do their reprint things like Yu-Gi-Oh, because Yu-Gi-Oh they reprint something, nothing will retain value in Yu-Gi-Oh, unless it's like the highest rarity or like really old, like pre-2013 Edison-esque cards. Those are the only ones that gain value. But try not to look at this as an investment. If you're playing TCG like card games for the first time, remember, try to make trades for things. Like if you have something that you need and your friend or your person on locals also needs, you can trade the card for whatever you want from them, right? Try to make trades. Like I managed to get 2 booster boxes, fortunately, at MSRP. I pulled 2 freedoms and then 1 copy of like Death Scythe, 1 copy of Wing Zero, right? At that point, I'm like, oh, I guess that means I'm just gonna build freedom, and you'll just have to deal with it. And if you want to play like other decks, you try to buy it when it's like either low, or you try to trade it for other cards, right? For example, I have a lot of bulk from the booster packs. So even though they're like $5, $2, $1 cards, if you trade them, a lot of them, right, especially the people who are not able to get booster packs, then that's gonna add up, and then you're able to get your card without feeling too bad about it, right? So anyways, it's not market watch, not financial advice. I probably won't do market watch. It's really, I mean, this is the first set. This is what it is. At this point, a lot of people who are whales and wanted to buy cards at this point already probably have it. People who are getting into the game either have barriers where they're not able to get it, so they refuse to get it because they're not gonna able to get starter decks at like reasonable prices and things of that nature. 2, people are just waiting for reprints, and then of course, because there is a extremely low demand right now, because again, like I said, at this point, people already probably have their first deck that they want to build, and then maybe at this point, people are getting like maybe their second deck, right? Another deck, maybe round out the collection. That's why stuff is like on the down low, and of course, meta is always a big part of it. Because you're buying cards on TCG Player, I would expect you to be like in tune with the meta. Like you're not gonna be some random guy like Pokemon, for example. I saw a stat where like 70% of people who buy Pokemon cards don't play it. Right? I've never played Pokemon. You just buy it for collecting, selling, whatever. Magic, I believe, is at 50-50-ish, or pretty high overall. And then Gundam, I would love to know. Like, did most people who buy Gundam probably play it? I would guess so. Like, who's really gonna drop like $600 just for like an investment? Doesn't make sense to me. Anyways, that's enough, I think, market watch for today. This is not financial advice. Please make your own sound financial decisions. Remember, you're buying cardboard, which is a depreciating asset. The next set comes out, all this stuff's gonna be like no one cares. So anyways, that's all I really got. That's meta overall. Hopefully this is an enjoyable podcast for you to listen to, hear me ramble about what's messed up about like capitalism and how it could be good and bad and meta. So right now, super popular Wing Zero, Wing Zero, kind of a little bit low key on the down low, but dev site retaining value here and there, right? And then of course all arts is in its own category. Yeah, that's all we got for today. Thank you for watching. If you're watching it all this way, I truly appreciate it. Please leave a like, comment, sub, all that fun stuff. If you want to see more Gundam related content, I always appreciate seeing comments and feedback from everybody, because you know I'm here to learn. I'm just here using this as a venue for expressing my thoughts, and they're always able and open to interpretation and like being able to learn more about just the meta and Gundam card game in general, because it's been a month out. Let's see how it goes like next week too, right? So anyways, thank you for watching. See you around. Bye bye.